Hi, and welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I am your co-host, Michelle, and today we have Kat with us again.
Hello.
Welcome, Kat. Thanks
you.
for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you set the intention last time, so I feel like it's only fair if I set it this time.
Yes, please.
I feel like my intention or our intention or a possibility of intention is to be grounded, connected, and I'm just hearing in my big energy. I don't know why that's coming in that way, but that is absolutely what I'm hearing. So I'm gonna listen to it and just be in my big energy. Heck, we could have a whole conversation about what that means.
Sure, why not? We can go there.
It's like, I don't know. I feel like that came in because I had a really big chunk of my life that I just hid. I reeled my energy in everywhere I went.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Because I didn't want to be seen or cause a ruckus or create confrontation or any sort of like, this is going to sound weird, but like jealousy or like judgment. Like there were just, so I just reeled it all in and tucked it away behind all the walls that I had built up. And I just don't do that anymore. It's not that I'm always in like fill the room energy, but I definitely am not in hiding anymore, I guess. So I don't know. I really, like, there's a piece of me that's like, gosh, guides, what are you trying to tell me today? What is this message? I'm going to sit with that a minute. You got anything to say about all that?
I mean, I would say that, like, you know, pieces of my backstory, like, raised in a really complicated family situation, was wildly accommodating as a child because love felt conditional, and so children should be seen and not heard, and don't be the squeaky wheel because that is not a good thing. And so if you can slide in and be a chameleon and just make everyone else comfortable and take care of them, then you've made yourself useful, right? And so if you are like small and quiet and useful, it goes better instead of, you know, like taking up space, like owning who you are, like mind, body, and soul. And, you know, and with age, that helps a lot, right?
That's fair. Life experience is like a legit, amazing, useful tool, albeit painful.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah.
Not always, but
and so,
there's definitely some pain points in there, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, worked through major mental health stuff, like in junior high and high school, like all kids in junior high and high school, for the love of God.
Right.
Yeah. And then a lot of inner work in my 20s and 30s, and in a much, much better place now in terms of, you know, people talk about coming back or going back to who you were in childhood, and like, nope, that person is always there. You just realize that is who you're supposed to be. You get led astray along the way, right? With like peers and family and all the things, and like sort of programmed to be this different human. And at some point you figure out, well, none of that actually works. I'm gonna like own who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, and hopefully. I wouldn't even say supposed to be. I'd just say who you are.
Who you are, yes.
Like supposed to be for me, I'm like, no, I resent.
No.
Like,
I'm saying supposed to be in like the universal
in like the
sense,
highest,
in the highest self.
Yeah,
like who your guides and like the universe knows who you are. Like just show up like that, and all is well, right?
Yeah,
like
Oh, that's hearing you describe your childhood. It's like I resonate with a lot of it.
Yes.
In my own ways and in my own story. Except I don't think anyone that knows me would ever say that I was small and quiet. I'm not a quiet human. It's funny though. I am, like, if I'm in a new place, I am super like a fly on the wall. I do not want to be seen. I do not want to be heard. And maybe that's not so true anymore. Like now I'm just like an observer first. And then when I assess and decide what is safe or what isn't, or how engaged I even choose to be, it's not about me hiding now. It's about a mindful choice. Like I have awareness of this room, and this room is either for me or not. And my healthy boundaries are what guide me through like how big my energy gets, how open I prefer to be, how vulnerable I choose to get, how engaged I want to be, and how long I want to stay, if I'm being honest, right? Like, peace out, gotta go.
Right.
You know, and I get to do that. Yeah. And I didn't used to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like this amazing, and it's definitely, I mean, you know, it's an age thing, right? Like there's wisdom in the experiences. but I also think, like, I didn't start really digging into who I might be, actually, until, I mean, probably in my mid-30s I started, but I didn't have the community or the guidance at that time. So it wasn't until, like, you know, I was like 41 before I actually met a community that could actually guide me and support me in a way that led me somewhere actually into my big energy. I mean, we all have it. It's just, you know, how much are you willing to, like, crank that door open to let the light shine and just be like, yeah, this is who I am. And I legit am not trying to form into, like, I don't care if you like me. I like myself. And if we're not vibing, that's okay. Right. And I also don't, like, I don't need you to like me, but I also, if you don't like me, I don't feel bad towards you or about you or anything. Like, I understand, like, if we all absolutely loved everything about everyone and everyone in the world, like, that doesn't even, like, I can't even comprehend that. That doesn't even, like, there's no way. No. Plus boring. That just feels boring to me.
No drama then. Come on, man.
I don't like drama, but I would like variety. I would like variety, yes. Drama, no. Variety, change, a little shift here and there.
Growth and exploration.
And play within that. And pain. I always, like, I remind myself that, like, as much as I say I want these things, and I do, that it comes with discomfort. Yes. And that's okay. And I always remind myself, these days I'm big on that everything is temporary, like literally everything. And so that there's comfort there, but there's also discomfort there depending on where your attachments are. I don't know.
Yeah. There are no bad emotions, right? Like,
right.
And that's,
I think it's the stuffing them that gets us in trouble.
Well, I think the labeling does too.
Well, fair.
Because if you're going to label them as bad, then inherently you don't want to experience them, right?
Right.
And, like, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, that
at some point
you do have
whether
to.
It's the floodgates that open or whether it's the dripping faucet, like, you're going to have to at some point.
Yeah. And even I'm just, like, as you said that, like, what I'm hearing is, like, experiencing your emotions, like, as they really are. Like, I feel like I hid a lot of my actual emotions in anger for a very long time. That was my comfortable place. Anger and frustration. I was either frustrated because things weren't going the way I hoped, or I was angry because things weren't going the way I had hoped. Or I was angry because I couldn't believe that either this had happened to me or hadn't happened for me, or, you know, just kind of like all the different things.
You know, now that you say that, I'm like, oh, that anger makes so much sense, because I think some people externalize their anger and other people internalize it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think I was really angry at myself for a lot of years.
Oh, that's what I figured out after doing the work, is like, oh, I wasn't even mad at anybody else. I was mad at me.
Totally. Yeah. And also realizing, like, the shame and, like, you know, the anxiety and the depression and all of those pieces, and, like, how that ties into the anger, right? And being frustrated with yourself that you're like feeling shitty and in this place, and, you know, and it's like the feedback loop of misery. No, thank you. Eject, shut it down.
Let me go. You said that, it's like, it reminded me, Dan and I have had a few conversations lately about just kind of like how we grew up, or even just like how we showed up growing up, you know? And it was like, I think about, like, guilt, shame, worry, anxiety were just like, that was just normal in my family. Like, my grandfather was very much he worried about literally everything. So it was like, you know, and then just the way, I don't know, just the way my whole family operated, it was like guilt, shame, worry, anxiety were all very common and normal emotions, experiences in my day-to-day life, to the point where I thought that was normal. I didn't even know it was possible to have anything different. Right. And then it was like, I was like, wait, what is this, like, what is this household thing going on over here? I'm confused. Right. I don't know. Why is your mom not worried that you're not home? Don't they love you? Like, you know, like, I, like, connected all that. Like, I had attached it to all these little different things, you know, and then, I don't know. Anyway, it's fascinating to think, like, I literally didn't know it was something different. And that led us to a bunch of conversations about, like, oh, that's just my family. Sorry, my bad. I didn't know that wasn't normal. There's some hysterical stories there, which I won't share. If Dan chooses to share them on the podcast someday, we can do that. But I mean, we were just dying laughing, because it's like, you don't know what's not normal until and what's normal anyway, but like normal to you. And then you go and you're like, oh, there's a possibility of something different.
That's exactly it. You don't know the possibilities until they're revealed to you.
Yeah. And then you're like, wow, there's something different out there.
Totally.
Wait, how do I show up? What do I want?
Yeah. Like, what are these other options here?
Yeah.
Talk to me about this.
And what might they look like in my world? What might they look like in my internal world? I've seen them in the external world. That's interesting and unique. Can't even fathom that being sustainable, but let's give it a go.
Yeah, I still remember a conversation that we had with a gal that was part of a little weekend snapshot, Choose Yourself, and she was like, I can literally close my eyes and just breathe and get to nirvana. And I was like, what? Like, you can do that? Like, teach me, tell me everything. Like, how? Like, that's amazing. Like, I didn't even know there was an option. Sign me up. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, like mind blown.
Well, and there's like so many, I use there's so many muscles that we don't even know exist that we exercise, or we can exercise when we know they exist, but we have to know they exist first. And I tell you what, man, circle it back to yoga from last week's episode. Yeah. Every time I do a yoga practice after it's been a while, I'm like, what is that little muscle that's happening right there underneath my rib cage or underneath my armpit or, in my glute? You're just like, damn, I didn't even know there was, and I do body work. It's like, I do know there's muscles there, but well, found that one. Totally. Guess I need to do that a little more. You've been sleeping.
Or when you focus on like the subtle body stuff and it's
gosh.
Yeah, it's like, feel the muscles that hold your ribs together. And I'm like, what? And then you can feel them and you're like, whoa. Yeah. There's stuff there. That's amazing.
Like, ew, have you ever had your intercostals massaged?
No, but that sounds dirty and yes, please.
Amazing. I remember we were in our Thai massage training and there was a couple people in there that were taking it super like slow and literal, and it's like, we don't have all day. Like, come on, let's just like, you get the concept. Moving on. Like, this is there's that impatience piece, right? But it feels really good. Like those spaces between your ribs get you up. It's so good. But it's like, things you don't, pieces of your body that you don't even realize exist until you do it, and then you're like, wait, what? Oh. Perspective, man.
Right.
That's no different than being in your home and then going outside and seeing a different thing. It's like, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know that existed. Now I do. Well, something to ponder.
That reminds me of Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart.
I haven't read it.
Oh, I listened to it on Audible and she reads it, which is
that's cool.
Really lovely. But like, she talks about like the full spectrum of emotions and like what it feels like and like her stories and her experiences with it. And like, it's fascinating because she just she's just such an approachable author, talking about emotions and like really complicated, complex things. And it's one of those books where I was like, I'm going to have to listen to this again like 3 more times. Yeah. Because like, it's so dense and it's so good. And like different sections are so applicable at different times of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a good one if you're like, okay, what are emotions again? Like, I don't have all of the vocabulary that I want to have. Like, reminders of, like, what things feel like if you're really disconnected from, like, those experiences.
Yeah.
It's a really good resource.
I think language is hard sometimes
yes.
Like, to articulate, like, what you're actually feeling. That's like, well, it's this combination between anger, sadness, a little bit of guilt. It's like, it's almost like I'm thinking of a bag of Jelly Bellies right now, making recipes with my emotions.
It's like a recipe. It's like a baking card. It's like a half teaspoon of salt. Yeah. Like the little bit of bitterness in there. And then
sass.
A little spicy.
A lot spicy. Super want to make emotion recipe cards now.
Oh my God, yes.
That would be fun.
Absolutely.
I feel like
really
I feel like we could use that. I feel like we could use that in summits for sure. Like emotional recipe cards where you get to like break it down because I think it's too easy to just say I'm pissed off.
Yeah. Well, that's your go-to, so of course.
Well, it's also too easy to just say I'm sad. Like,
I was going to say
what
anxious,
else is there?
For me, right?
There's always something there.
There's always something else underneath.
You said anxious. I'm going to just sidetrack a little bit about my mom because, like, I don't remember. Dan and I were shopping the other night, and for some reason she came in, or not necessarily came in, but like a thought came into my head, and I was like, my mom never used the words I'm excited for. She always said I'm anxious for. I'm anxious to see you. I'm anxious to go to the state fair. I'm anxious to do this thing. I'm anxious to do that thing. And I didn't put a lot of like thought into that until like now that she's gone. But like when I think about how she showed up in the world, right? Like,
right.
I mean, the family I grew up in, right? Like the family, her dad was the one that was worried, anxious,
it's like
all
default,
the time.
right? That's just how
it's like she doesn't even know what the word excitement means. It's always anxious.
Well, which is a version of anxiety, right? Like anxiety and excitement are like little buddies.
Yeah.
Like two sides of a coin, right?
Yeah.
Because it can be like, you know, performance anxiety, which is also good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also feels terrible in your body.
Yeah.
And it can be really helpful, legitimately. And then there's like the worry part and like the dreading the worst, like catastrophizing, which is my superpower.
I feel like maybe we should not word it like that. Not should. I'm not shoulding on you.
Oh, yes, you are.
I just should on you. I'm sorry. I should on you. but like, there does
my evil superpower.
There you go. I was like, it does feel a little bit like claiming catastrophizing as your superpower.
Well, I'm really good at it. Really good at it. Really good.
Okay, but can we just shift that just a smidgy?
Yeah.
This is why we're such great friends.
I know. My other superpower is pink glitter bubbles. So
oh gosh, they're so good.
Yeah.
Pink glitter bubbles. And they don't make a mess.
Glitter forever everywhere.
Glitter forever everywhere. I'm a little bit less like a stickler for those kinds of things and this is like such a weird segue. But like, you know, part of the reason I didn't let people into my basement that I didn't know is because I did Thai massage, and there's always that underlying connotation that people might or might not assume that there's something more that's going to happen there, and I'm just going to be
special massage.
Yeah, and that is never.
Nope.
It's always been something I've been afraid of, and I just never wanted to do anything that gave any indication of that, you know. But now that like I'm not doing that anymore, it's like I get a little less worried about it because like. Personal development doesn't really like exude like, hey, come on in and you know feel better in that way.
Yeah.
So I'm less worried about it. So if there's a little glitter in the studio, oh well. Except that there's still like Thai massage here, so I just don't really want anything that could imply that something
inappropriate
quote unquote would be happening here. It's like I was so protective of that, but it was because it was one of my biggest fears. And then I was like, well, me having this fear might just be like an energy that I need to just completely detach from altogether because that's not helping anything.
No.
And it's funny because when I moved into this space, it went away for the most part. I don't know why I felt safer. Maybe it's because there were security guys next to me right over the gate. And I went and talked to them and said, hey, if I ever have an issue, you guys around all the time. They're like, yep, leave your door open. We're fine.
Well, and I think like being in somebody's house has a different connotation.
It does. Yeah. And so I don't know what it was. This like moving to the space was empowering for me on so many different levels. Yeah. It was so good for just
huge
like
deal.
Yeah,
major deal.
But it was one of the scariest things I've like ever chosen to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know how we got there.
I don't either. So this is how our brains work, guys.
Yeah.
For those of you that are listening, just wander around and follow.
Oh, look at glitter.
Yeah. Shiny tangents. Oh, shiny up in that direction.
Yeah. So that's where this one went.
Yeah.
Can we circle it back to something not that for a hot second?
Not body glitter and inappropriate massages.
Yeah, no. Not those things.
Well, we were talking about emotions and recipe cards for emotions. And
yeah,
just emotions are complicated. And
I feel like even just thinking of my emotions with a recipe card is helpful for me. Like, I actually think that will be helpful for me showing up, like, when I'm in a trigger or in, like, a space where I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling off.
Yeah.
I'm feeling off. Where is this coming from? And my default answer might be anger, but I'm not going to allow myself just that simple answer anymore. I want to break it down and actually be honest with myself about, okay, anger is part of it. What else is there?
Yeah, like what percentage is actually anger? Because oftentimes there's primary emotions and there's secondary emotions, right? So primary emotions are the emotions that show up first, which are often the ones that we sort of are like really used to or that we've sort of conditioned ourselves to feel first. But often if you like pause and you go a little further, there's often layers underneath. And so understanding, you know, what else is happening, a lot of times with anger, you know, sadness follows. Or
that's 100% on the other side, anger for me. I've cried so much since I've uncovered all that.
Yeah.
Like, I've never cried that much in my entire life.
Yeah, and like anxiety is fear-based, right? So like, of course, like if you're worried about something, you're going to be fearful. And so like, what is the fear about? Like, do you actually need to be fearful of it? Like, is it legit? You know, I mean, of course it's legit, but like, is the thing actually a possibility of happening, you know? And so doing some like slow down, uncover, you know, write it out if you have to.
Yeah.
I like that. I think we might
I
have
really
to
do
use
too.
that.
I think, this is going somewhere.
Okay. Emotional recipe cards.
Yeah.
I'm seeing color with them, so we might
Me too.
might have to do some art or some paint.
There's definitely cart happening.
Yeah.
Art.
Cart.
You said coloring and I just creativity.
Emotional recipe card art. Cart.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
So stay tuned for that, guys. That's coming next, apparently.
Right. I guess. You never know where we're going to go legit.
I know, seriously.
It's such a great thing, though.
Yeah, that's fun.
Be in flow, and it doesn't always make sense. That's okay.
No. Never makes sense. Well,
Never
not
makes
really
sense.
makes sense, but...
So, do you have a social media channel where people can find you that you'd like to share? Or?
So I have Katinka Inc. is my social media Instagram, and I've got a Katinka Inc. Facebook page.
Can you spell that?
It's Catinka and then INK. So Katinka Inc. So Instagram, Facebook, and then I think that's it.
Okay.
Oh, and website. I do have a website, so you can look me up there.
Is that katinkainc.com? Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can find us on at Hypothetically Intentional on the social media pages and also on the JID website and the Michelle Albers website, which will be linked in the episode. Thanks for joining us today. That is a wrap. Bye. Be you every day.
Bye.